Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about European Space Agency. So let's dive right into it. Now, first thing we have to understand when this puppy was. This puppy was created after World War II, because after World War II, specifically after H-bombs, Cold War started to take phase. And at that point in time, you have to understand, more or less, almost every nation was kind of maximized, like saturated, so to say. They reached a point where it's like, aeroplanes, more or less the same. Naval vessels, more or less the same. Submarine, more or less the same. Tanks, more or less the same. But one final frontier remained, meaning basically here, nobody has conquered yet. That was space. So space became the final battleground at that point in time, meaning if you really want to show yourself bigger than others ones, you have to go there. And two main players were there, USSR and USA. Now, one thing you have to understand, USSR had much bigger resources pool, much deeper pockets compared to Russia. So do not confuse these two. USSR really genuinely had surprisingly deep pockets, and USA literally went all in, and they were spending money like there was no tomorrow. And this is one thing that you have to understand, this is a big rocket, meaning it costed a boatload of money. And one thing people have very hard time understanding is like, oh, if we can do this in 1960, why can't we go to moon again? You have to understand, during this time it was Cold War, meaning from people's point of view, USA was in serious trouble, meaning they literally realized that Soviet Union can just have something on their sky and they cannot do anything about it. That was scary. In that point in time, they were willing to spend whatever, basically blank check. This puppy consumed 4.5% of national GDP budgets. To give you a context of that, NASA's current yearly budget is around 0.4%. This was consuming around 4 to 4.5% per year for 2-3 years. Like, that's how much money it took in order to expedite this process. So that's why we can't just do it. It's like doing it is, physics is like, we got this. Engineering is like, we got this. It's just the bank balance is like, no, we really don't got that. So European Union, meaning all the nations that were inside European Union, realized the hard way that they do not have the funds to compete with, big boys. And why that was, well, again, World War did had a toll, specific toll on European Union. They were like destroyed. So fundamentally, they did not have the bank balance to afford this sort of thing. And this created a secondary issue, which was compounding interest, that brain drain. Now, brain drain is one of those things that you always hear about in like Asia, like, oh, Indians are like, studying in India and then going abroad, or like in basically China, they are studying and leaving. Same thing was happening to Europe also. And Europe had an issue, basically, rocket industry was a new thing. So people who are capable of it, they really wanted to flex their muscle. It's like, dude, I am trained for this, let me do something with it. And Europe had no way of doing it. And again, each country, let's say France, let's say Germany, let's say UK, let's say Italy, none of them actually had any coherent plan, any space program where they're like, this is what we are doing, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to approach it. None of them had that. Consequence, some went to Soviet Union and majority of them went into America. That created a serious brain drain, and they realized it very early on. It's like, if this continues, we dead. So they realized very early on that it will create a basically outdated technological scenario, meaning they will go from, in history, Europe, like, central of civilization, lot of technological innovation, to they used to be something back in the days. So they realized it very early on. So this was the birthing era of European Space Agency. Now, they started early. They made ESA, ESRO. Now, here's the interesting part. It does sound like ISRO, Indian Space Area, it's like European. And this was founded in 1964. And this is like 58 years old at this point in time. And they had two subcategories. Subcategory won't be correct way of putting it. Basically, there were two organizations, ESRO, ELDO. ELDO was created for basically launching the puppies, and ESRO was putting something on that puppy. That's the whole thing. Basically, anything that goes to space will go through ESRO, and anything that is responsible for launching the damn thing will be ELDO. Now, you may think like, okay, this rocket says United States and it says ESRO. Why? Well, in early days, Europe really did not have anything that was comparable, like even had the ability to, reach space. And this was like so early on, this is almost like a sounding rocket, bigger version of sounding rocket. It just went into like, what Jeff Bezos rocket does right now. So they created it. Now, here's the deal. Because so many countries were, collaborated together, it took 2 years. I'm not joking. This literally took 2 years for politicians to figure out what the heck we want to do. 2 years. 2 goddamn years. And after that, because so much politics, because so much hoo-ha, they literally created many sub-organizations. This is like ESRO, this is ELDO, and there were many more. Be very mindful of that. It's just not one or two. There were many more things that were created. I have provided a video down below if you really want to look into that history. It was like they always thought that we creating a sub-organization will allow them to expedite the process, but reality was it was always costing them more money and costing them delay. So years started to went by, money started to drain, and outcome was nothing, zero results. So it took them some serious amount of time before to realize we cannot have like 10,000 organizations inside us. We have to have one unified body, which became ESA. Now this took them till 1975 to realize. So you get that point. Like even though they started in 1964, early years were like almost wasteful because they did not had a unified anything. This was early stage. And then they started to do that, but because they have wasted so much time, they realized that they really don't have anything to truly compete with anyone else. So they started to play a very collaborative game. They started to collaborate with NASA, and NASA, while it did had like a lot of intelligence because of Apollo project, they did not have big bank balance, because the bank balance that was coming at 4.5% is now coming at 0.5% or 0.95, like generally below 1%. So they had the intellect, but they did not have the money for it. So in that time and place, they were like, what if we use Europe? And they started to Europe on large scale project, meaning some huge projects, meaning space lab was created, and it was like first foray into real technology, 1983. Now this puppy, that small section you are seeing that goes into the cargo bay of space shuttle, was a first like serious big boy toy. They started to make this, and then they wanted to make their own space station, but again politics, hoo-ha. So they basically created a ESA Columbus module, and again many more contribution and big scale contribution, as in like huge chunks of ISS is contributed by them. Space shuttle contribution and James Webb Space Telescope, not only the launch provider, also many of the instrument is also made by them. And to give you a current understanding of Senate launch system, the service module is from them. Basically Orion is American, but service launch module, basically the puppy that is propelling it, providing electrical power, cooling power and navigation, that is directly provided by ESA. So you get the point. Like collaboratively wise, they are like seriously important to NASA. I mean, like NASA will actually be in deep trouble if ESA just went poof. It will be in very big trouble. So they did a lot of collaboration, and that stopped their brain drain issue. And like they actually allowed people to have like something, oh, European taxpayers actually have some place to go to in space. So it kind of slowed down the situation. However, as year went by, it started to become clear the fact that they did not had no unified goal really started to show. And sooner or later, every company, every country, every organization realizes that, especially in space, you need a manned program. Everything else is gibberish unless you have a manned program. You do not have a manned program, nobody gives a damn about like, I have landed in a moon of a gas giant. First of all, like, which gas giant? Which moon? That's the whole thing. It's like nobody cares about it. I can't blame that, because we are human. We give a damn about human. We do not give a damn about rovers. So this is one thing that they have to understand. And they knew this. They knew this. They wanted to build their own space station. They wanted to build their own space shuttle. But you have to understand there were two things happened that killed this project. First, this project was not capped, meaning they wanted to build it. They wanted to make it as simple, as low budget as possible. And then they started to expand it, what we call mission creep, feature creep. And once feature creep started to happen, the end, it went on. And then, not to mention, first space shuttle disaster happened, and the biggest issue of that was space shuttle like kind of awoken people to realize that space is dangerous. Apollo kind of created a false sense of security, because Apollo, again, big risky project, going like freaking light second away and like surviving that, and Apollo 13 really proved that like something bad can happen, and yet they had successful re-entry and landing, no loss of life. So created a it's a rough and tough kind of scenario, but like we got this. But space shuttle disaster took 7 people life, poof, gone. So that created a scenario where people were like, no, space is seriously serious. So that started to scale back. Now, because if they had directly stuck onto that smallest possible design, they would have had something, and then they would have reinforced it to make it more robust, more reliable and all that jazz. But no, but they wanted to like keep scaling it up, and then it created a scenario where the scaled up model no longer had the ability to be saved, meaning as safe as they wanted to be, like if anything goes wrong, it still survives. So that kind of wasted this project. Again, this consumed a boatload of money, and they had not a single physical prototype to build just on design phase, because they did not had a united goal. Their goal should have been from day one is like get something off the ground. Heck, they should not even try to make space shuttle. They should have tried to make a capsule. They had a rocket. They could have made a capsule and had something like, okay, we can go to ISS on our own. They should have had something. But like, this is a very clear example. Money, time does not matter if you do not have unified goal. And their collaborations, while amazing, while awesome, it does not really sounds well to the people who are paying taxes. It's like, why we are giving you money so you can do things with NASA? It's like, why you are not doing your own thing? Why the heck every child born in Europe literally has 0% probability of becoming an astronaut? It's like, why? And reality is that expensive rocket, it was true that it had a market capture, but it was only for a small moment of time. And rockets, because they are expensive, they could not mass produce it no matter what they wanted to do. So money and time did not help them all. And like, this is very important for USA. Like, why did USA became the USA? Because of this. They were scared. They literally, they were in bad position. And this balls is like, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, took some serious balls. And that unified the people, because yes, real military people they are good at scaring the country, but like, that does not unify them. That does not that kind of creates a panic situation. This binds them. This is like a concrete. It's like, we got to do this. And that was awesome for them. Like, think of this, like how quickly NASA went from I am created, let's go to the moon, let's land on the goddamn moon. Like, how quickly that happened. It's scary how quickly that happened, simply because they had a unified goal. That's awesome. You want to save a country, give them a unified goal. You want to go hulululu, good luck. Does not matter. Like, ESA is a very great example of that. Now let's compare ESA, modern ESA, to modern reality. China beat them, and China did it with less money and time, and became the third nation with a manned system. And that is a very serious bitch slap to ESA. Is like, what the hell you are consuming so much tax money? Why the hell you are consuming this and that? It's like, what do you have to show for it? China did that. And you may be like, China has like second largest budget this year, or past 2-3 years. That is true, but you have to understand, China literally recently started to invest GG amounts of money in space. ESA has been doing that for long. So if you compare, let's say, past 20 years of budgeting, then you will find ESA is much more. And ESA already had like a head start, very long head start, and like a really good scientist. It's like, what the hell did you do with that? And like, China became the third one. Right now, technically speaking, there are only 2 countries that can do manned system. A is USA, B is China. Russia I do not count, simply because Russia got second-hand product of USSR. That's why the rocket looks like freaking, it was designed in 1970, because it is designed in 1970. They're Control-C, Control-Ving it. Now, it's very good. It's a robust, reliable system. It does work, but it's not new. And the moment ESA was like, ESA was really good at geostationary launches. They were like, we got this. Geostationary satellite launch, they got it. They even figured out double stacking geostationary satellites, which was a really big deal. That was awesome. And that's why, like, even if you go to ESA websites, as in like ISRO website, as in Indian Space Organization system, you will find that many of the Indians geostationary satellite was launched by Europe. And again, the rocket is good, but it is way too expensive. And it is way too expensive became clear once SpaceX entered the picture. The moment SpaceX started to come in, ESA's contract started to go down. And not to mention, SpaceX already achieved manned option alone. They are not even a country, goddammit. They are like, we got this. We built a rocket that is like bitch ass performance. Like, you genuinely cannot compete. And we also built a manned program. At this point in time, they are like only one step away from making an actual space station. They can actually do that. Falcon Heavy is that capable. If they really want to, they can do that. And on top of that, the salt on the wound, they are dependent on Russia. And this really starting to show up because of the modern war that's going on. Is OneWeb is stuck. OneWeb is like, dude, we want cheap rocket to launch. Soviet Union, basically second-hand rockets are Russia's best friend, and Russia is like, yeah, you can use our Soyuz systems. Awesome. Here's the deal. What if Russia says no? OneWeb got stuck. Now, why don't they switch to Ariane? They will go bankrupt. Flat out, they will go bankrupt. Without subsidies, Ariane will simply is too goddamn expensive. And Elon Musk was saying this around, I think, 2014. It's like, dude, your rockets are too idiotically expensive. It will never work. And that's the reality of it. The only reason ESA is still in the network is like, we have nothing else. So current war that is going on between Ukraine and Russia may motivate European Union to like, okay, gloves are off, let's do this. Let's no longer be dependent on freaking SpaceX or freaking USA or like anyone else. Like, Europe should have something of their own, because if China can achieve it, if SpaceX can achieve it, it's like that embarrassment starts to become like frustrating for the people. It's like, dude, you are consuming billions of dollars and you have not even a one goddamn good rocket where it can this is cheap, this is mass producible, this means I do not have to go to Russia. You don't have that. Then what the hell you have been doing with the money? I do not care about a gas giant's gas giant's moon's atmosphere. I do not care. I genuinely do not care. Give me a goddamn good rocket that's like, we got this rocket. Any private company that wants to do something with Europe, we got this. No, you don't have that. So that is a serious bitch slap to them. If they really milk this puppy, they can really start to gain back some momentum, because right now, really bad situation. Reality is really bad for them. So this was the presentation on European Space Agency. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you are free, and as always, thanks for watching.